Running both right now?
Saturday will be in Brush.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I didn't have, I didn't think Mel was gonna approve it so quickly, and so I didn't buy inventory, so I'm like, well, I'll wait till Saturday, because that's the biggest auction of the year.
Oh,
300 to
wow.
400 people go through there on Saturday for this auction, so I was like, I'll wait for the week and, you know, hit it up Saturday, but I figured if I would have bought the inventory, then he would have denied me. And then if I didn't buy the inventory, he would have approved me. So.
Yeah. You got the place all fixed up though?
Yep, it's all cleaned, all painted, moved grills and everything around, added another fryer to it.
Oh, wow.
So we put a lot into it. And then the owners of Zazzy's Cafe over there in Morgan that's getting remodeled for HDTV, they're actually going to come up and do breakfast stuff in the mornings.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of got another business over there, but...
Oh, okay, super.
Oh, sorry, not livestock.
Oh, livestock on the hill.
Yep.
Cool.
So not too far. Thank you.
Much closer than Fort Warren.
Right.
There's Saturday.
And then Micaiah will be there just as much as I am, so you can harass him all the time. Ask him how many hours he's put in on training me on these stupid tablets. He don't even like me anymore.
So just get open and move on.
Yep.
Stop making noise.
Mute.
I'm trying. I'm computer
It's all quiet
illiterate.
in here.
TikTok just waiting for 6 o'clock.
Are we close?
Yeah, it's 5:59. Guess we could just start.
Are
By the
we-
time everybody stands up, it'll be 6 o'clock. Okay, we'll start with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder to silence your cell phones. You'll notice there's no microphones to turn on. So they're already on. So we will start with the roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councilor Garrell,
Here.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Here.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Here.
Councilor Spradlin,
Here.
Councilor Tyree,
Here.
Councilor White.
Here.
Move on to item 3, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections?
I have one correction to make on the Sarah House presentation under visitors and delegations. We're going to move that to the October 10th meeting instead.
Oh, okay. Very good. Anything else? I would look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with Miranda's corrections for meeting September 26, 2022.
And
Second.
any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Spradlin,
Yes.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Councilor Garrell,
Yes.
Councilor White,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody read through that? Any corrections or revisions? I actually have in the agenda part of the minutes, there's just not, the date isn't complete.
Okay.
But that was all I saw.
Thank you.
And if there's nothing else, I look for a motion for that.
Move we approve the minutes from the September 12th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor White,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin,
Yes.
Councilor Garrell,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Item 5, visitors and delegations. So we're moving the Sarah House to October 10th. Next would be citizen comment period. Do we have anybody here for citizen comments? No? Okay. So we'll move on to management. We have Joanne is going to talk to you about our 2023 SRSA renewal.
recently received our 2023 quotes from CIRSA for property casualty and workers' comp. And as you've read in my memo, the 2023 quote for property casualty is $194,400, which is $9,521 more than last year. And the increase is in line with previous 2 years. Last year's increase was $12,785, so it's actually down about $3,000 this year from the previous year. The workers' comp is $234,885, which is $2,909. Last year's increase was only about $200 and some, so it is up a little bit, but not bad. We can survive for $2,000. And other than that, we're just requesting that council approve the new rates and let us sign off that we're going to accept CIRSA again for 2023.
Very good. Thank you, Joanne. I would look for a motion for that one. Anybody has any?
Move we approve the 2023 CIRSA renewal for workers' comp and property casualty.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Counselor Garrell. Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Tyree.
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin.
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. That motion passes. Next we have finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for September 13th, 2022 through September 26th, 2022, totaling $363,068.51.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Tyree.
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell.
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next we have the 2023 budget presentation. Joanne, do you want to start off that discussion?
Sure, I can briefly.
So before you this evening, department heads are going to present their request for 2023 items. They're going to touch on anything that they've increased by $1,000 or more and go through those. And so with that, I'm going to sit down and let them get started. And I think that, Chief, you're the first one, aren't you, on the list?
I believe so. Good evening.
What's up, Chief?
I have just a couple requests this year. I believe it's page 6 in your packets, but I'm not positive. My travel training budget, I'm asking for a $2,000 increase. This past year, we definitely were over budget for a couple reasons. We sent somebody to the academy, and a month in, they raised the rates, which we did not have any idea they were going to do that. So that was an unplanned, significant expense. It was 3 times what we had budgeted and what we had been told. And then we've also been working hard to catch up on training that we've kind of fallen behind on because we were so short-staffed and training new officers. So this fall we've had a lot of out-of-house training, but we also get state funds back. So I know my line item looks bad that we're over budget, but a lot of that does come back in grant funds that goes to the general fund. And then the third thing that's impacted us, the state has continued to cut back on what they contribute per officer for training money. So I'm asking for a $2,000 increase there. The second line item, my computer maintenance line item, we're asking for a $2,000 increase as well. With Senate Bill 217 and House Bill 1250, one of the big implications or pieces that we have to address is internal complaints or complaints on officers. So now everything has to be tracked. If somebody calls up and says, I'm unhappy with Officer so-and-so, we have to have a paper trail on that. Before, we could require people to submit something in writing or more of a formal request process, and now anything has to be tracked. So it's a much bigger burden on us, so we're asking for the increase to get software so that we can do that much more easily and just a better option. Those are my only significant line item increases. The advertising, we're asking for a slight bump there just because of the cost of advertising, and I'm asking for a small bump for dog food at the animal shelter. Any questions?
I have a question about the
Yes.
dog food and the pound, or it is a pounding, right? That's what we call it.
Sure. We call it an animal shelter, but
Animal shelter. Let's use that word. It's nicer. We were just reviewing as a 4-H club different community service of things that we could do. So could you tell me just a little more what your need is there?
so most of our food is donated. And we've, just over the last year, we've seen donations drop off a little bit. So that's all we're asking for is just a little more money to fill that gap as we have to purchase food.
I just thought it was ironic we just discussed it, and then I saw it on the budget packet. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all we're looking for,
Okay.
just to fill a little bit of the gap for food.
Cool.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next we have Lance Schwint.
I just have a few changes for this upcoming year. If you could go to page 12, office supplies with our cemetery. This past year, we had a jump to $1,500, but that's because I don't have a computer line item on this one, and they did replace our computer, and so that's why that's where I ended up putting that bill was for that. So that reflects that. We did go up to 500. Just we're going to kind of reorganize that place. We got a new, with Greg there now. New guy has new ways, and so we're going to be putting some different filing cabinets and some different things like that. So I did bump that up $300 for this upcoming year. If you go to page 13, talk about foundations. I actually will be coming back to City Council because there is a much more of a need to increase our foundations in the upcoming year, and we may even try to get an extra sum done at the end of this year. Speaking with Loranda, we're running out of spaces on that north side, and so we needed to put some more foundations to put out there so that people would have a little bit more of a choice on where they select. It's pretty limited right now, am I right, Loranda, as far as what they can choose to, people that are wanting to buy plots. Eventually, though, that's all reimbursed through, funerals and all that sort of thing, but we would like to open up a little bit more of the cemetery for the community to choose from, so that's one that you'll be seeing in the near future. If you go to page 18, and there's two bills here that I don't know exactly. I know the telephone, it just seems to fluctuate quite a bit, and I was surprised kind of when I saw what it is, and that's part of my cell phone, and that's the rec department phones, but they do fluctuate from year to year, as you can see, and I need to find out, do some more research on that, on exactly why that is. But, 1 year was 17, then 37, and then it's, it looks like it's gonna be up to $4,500. So I need to figure out where that is all coming from, and so for this next year, so I'm not so far under budget, I did put $4,500, unless I can find the reason why it just keeps going up like that. The other one is down on computer maintenance too. Again, when the IT came in, they redid basically all of our computers. I think mine was 8 to 9 years old, and so they did a lot of replacing of that, and so looking at that budget, that's where we were at when I got the FAT report to do my budget. So that's where we're at right now. I don't think it's going to be near that much next year. In fact, $3,500 I think is going to be high, but I just did it to make sure I cover myself in case there is an emergency or something like that. If you go to page 34, gas and oil. Again, it took a big hit this year. The prices were pretty high, so it was about $2,000 higher than what I was expecting. So for the 2023 year, I upped it by $2,000, and our cemetery though was under. So, and they all kind of use the same thing. So if you average everything out, we're still under budget, but we're trying to reflect the true costs and everything right there. And so that's something that we will look at also. And finally, on page 40, bar expense and restaurant expense, those are quite a bit higher, but when you see the revenues, you'll understand why. The revenues are quite a bit higher, and they're covering those costs. So I did up things to be what we're seeing this year. And then again, under gas and oil, I did up it a little bit, just the rising gas prices and everything there, but you know, things are just costing more. So, but the bar and restaurant, it is a significant jump, but we did do a lot better revenue-wise than we have in the past. So that's where that's at. Anybody have any questions about anything?
Lance, I was gonna say that probably throughout the city with the phones and computers, this is an abnormal year where, you know, we made all these upgrades to the phones and the computers. So throughout, we talked about it, we just gotta watch this for the next year or two, see how those play out.
Okay,
But,
yeah.
but everyone's has a similar situation.
Okay.
I have a question on the carts, because we were just talking about the carts in finance, and you said it was 22,000 something a year, but you're only budgeting about 20,000, 19.5.
Isn't that what it comes out to be in, is about 19.5?
No, it comes out to be.
I kind of went off of that 2021 actual, because that's when we first did the lease. That's the reason I put 19.5 down.
It's 3,000, here we go. It's 3,805 a month for 6 months, and that equates to 22,832.
Then I should put 23,000.
Unless I can't multiply.
Okay. Well,
It is a possibility.
And maybe 2021 was our first year, so I was just kind of going off that, because it's the same throughout the year. The good thing is that lease, I think, is $114,000 or $15,000, and over the first 2 years of that lease, we've made about $125,000, $130,000. So we've already paid the whole lease off in the first 2 years. So for the next 3 years, it's all profit.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Can you explain that program just a little bit more?
Sure.
How it works, why you did it, and just the background on it?
Well, the foundation had purchased all of our carts to begin with, and we had 21 of them. Well, 21 carts is a lot for maintenance and everything else, and with just seasonals working out there, it just was a burden to take care of them. And then once they use their life, we have to go buy more carts. Well, with the lease, is that we put it in the lease for 5 years, then we can sell back to the MASIC is what we use. And then we get brand new carts every 5 years, and then that lease will just kind of re-up and everything else. So we always have relatively new carts. If there's any major repairs that need to be done, that's all covered within the agreement, as long as it's not negligence on our part or anything like that. So overall, it's just it's less maintenance for our guys to have to take care of. Plus, they're nicer carts. I don't know if anybody has seen them, but they're very nice carts, and we get a lot of compliments on them. And it's just been a really good program for us. And now we have 20. I think we have 24 carts, but we kept 2 of the other ones. So now we're good. We're never having to rent carts for tournaments and stuff like that. We have enough carts to get us through everything. Where some of those other ones that we had were so old that any given tournament we might have 14 that are operational, because we were there. A lot of them were being worked on and everything. So
do they leave them here for those 5 years, or do they send them back at the end of the season?
No, we leave them here for the 5 years.
Okay.
And Carson has a program right now where, and we do it each week. 1 week we'll have, unless we have a tournament, we'll just have a set of like 13 out that we use, and the rest of them are parked and they're kept out of the weather and everything like that. And then we just go back and forth with those, so that we're not, bringing them out, putting them out in weather and all that sort of thing. So he does have a pretty good program as far as what we're doing with the exchange and everything like that.
Perfect.
Cool.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a $10,000 increase for grounds maintenance.
Oh, baseball. What page is that?
That is on page 39 as well as 41. 39 is the line item, and then 41 is the explanation. So 41 would be 1210
Yeah.
grounds maintenance.
Yeah, that's just the other, this is for the golf course.
Okay.
That's just other, and it's just miscellaneous repairs and plantings and everything, and I overlooked that, or I would've put that in there. It was, $42,000 last year. We were hoping to get it down, but we ended up just doing a lot of work out there.
To
I did
just-
up it for this next year.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Dale Colrick will be next. Got all sorts of stuff.
Mayor, council. We're gonna start off with the street department. Street department so far, very fortunate so far this year. We're only looking at increasing one line item, and that's gonna be under general services 1402 for gas and electric. Energy has been kind of, I think we all have seen the energy increases here over the last year, a couple years. And so we're gonna be increasing that by 15,000, just to be on the safe side. Other than that, street department budget's gonna stay the same. And then moving on to water department, we have under supplies, line item 1206 chemicals. This is what we use for bleach and other chemicals that we use in water treatment. And right now, the chlor-alkali industry is it's very energy intensive, and so they're just passing those costs on to us. The cost of bleach keeps going up, and other chemicals. So we've seen a $2,000 increase in that line item. Then under travel and training, 1406, we've brought on quite a few new, right off the street employees that are learning water treatment, water distribution, and sewer collection. And so we're bumping that up significantly by $7,000 to get these guys up to speed, so they at least they have the competence and the licensing and certifications that they need. Get them sent to schools, which are not cheap anymore, but they are very valuable to send off to these conferences. The next item that I saw, which I'm kind of questioning what happened here, was 1411 under well electric. For some reason, they had $40,000 last year, and then for some reason it's $46,000 this year. I think I'm going to go back and revisit that particular line item. I think that's over budgeted by quite a bit. Moving into programs, you'll see for whatever reason, some of these line items did not get filled in. For example, 1536, which is for line replacements and such. We're putting back another $20,000 in that. And this is what we use when we have to run another line or have to repair some of our lines and such. So it's for some of the newer installations that we put in. And then under water conservation, it doesn't look like that carried across. I'm not sure if that was spreadsheet error or what. However, next year we plan on trying to hit water conservation quite a bit harder with CWCB coming out with some funding to help with grass and turf replacement next year. The state funds it, but the local governments are the vehicle for this. So we're investigating the possibility of actually getting on board with that program as well. So we might have some upfront costs, and I don't know if this is reimbursement or if it's actual how they're working this program yet.
Dell, the water conservation, I thought that's where we were gonna take the middle school well from. Is that the?
I thought that's a capital improvement item, I believe.
Okay, I was,
Oh,
in my
okay.
head, that's where it was coming from, but whichever way, as long as we have it there.
Either or.
Either or, okay. Any other questions, water? Wastewater by far, moving on, is probably the one, or trash and garbage, let me get back to that one there. The only increase you're gonna see in trash and garbage is $300 increase in building maintenance. Other than that, we're gonna keep most of it the same. Gas and oil's gonna go up by about $7,000. Just because Again, we didn't anticipate the high cost of diesel. So, other than that, under our trash and garbage department, it's pretty much the same. And I apologize on the little explanations I put in last year's. I turned in last year's instead of this upcoming year's. My apologies. So, then I have wastewater. Wastewater by far is the one that's most affected by a lot of the inflation and energy costs that we're expecting, and just how dynamic wastewater treatment can be. We're looking under building shop. This is what we use for our consumable items, things like, hand towels and such like that, being raised 1,000. You'll also see that we have miscellaneous and tools, going to be increasing that by 500. Under lab fees, we've been doing quite a bit more testing here as of lately, and we probably are going to exceed what we've budgeted in lab fees this year, simply because we have a lot of data to collect prior to our permit being reissued here at some point in time. And with the rumblings on the street, things like selenium, the PFAS treatment, the forever chemicals is what I'm talking about. We're going to have to really start be seriously looking at those. And so a lot of data needs to be collected and checked. And so under electric and gas, again, wastewater treatment is very energy intensive. And so we're increasing the electric and gas by 20,000. And then under natural gas, which is really propane at wastewater, it's the propane costs, that's gone up quite a bit as well from previous years. So we're just reacting to the market there. Moving into programs, 25,000 increase in the wastewater facilities maintenance. We're right at 10 years, and it just seems like more and more things are starting to wear out and starting to break down a little bit. And so we're just wanting to start getting some of these things replaced before we have some really critical issues. We're going to look at the city farm. We've had some issues with like the pivots, the pumps and stuff like that, so we're increasing that to by 1,000 to 8,000. And then we have our sewers cleaned. The outfit that does our sewer cleaning, it's not subject to or immune to inflation as well. I mean, they're going to be raising their prices, and so we have to react as well. So that's going up 4,000. And then finally, the English farm out there, we've been doing a lot of maintenance in terms of like mowing and those items, so we're going to increase that by 1,000 as well, and that's it for wastewater.
How did the sewer clean go down 40,000 from 2021? That's not too bad.
What do we got here? Under sewers cleaned?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What you'll see under line televising, some of that money got moved up to cleaning because we didn't need to televise some of these newer lines if they're PVC and they're fairly recent. So that it just got moved into that line item to do some of those. Okay, and then finally, we have our stormwater. And the only thing that we see an increase in this particular budget is going to be for repairs on the sweeper. And so it's starting to show its wear and tear as well. So it's about 6 years old at this point when they start to wear out. And I'll take any questions. Okay.
Good job. Thanks, Dale.
Wait till I do capital improvements, that's when they'll
Okay.
These are the easy ones.
Tyler Purvis.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. So just a couple of notable items. On page 73, I believe is where it's at. So most of it ties around to just the operations over at 304 Clayton Street. Last year was the first year in there, so there were just general estimates initially on what it might cost to run the office. Some went up and some went down. So where they went up, I tried to offset other areas where they could go down. So just running through there, telephone is up a little bit higher there just for how much it actually costs to run it. Electric and gas, last year, not sure why nothing was budgeted there. We do have electric and gas running this year. And so next year, $4,000 estimate there. Computer maintenance, that went up as well. Our annual maintenance costs are actually more than what we budgeted, so I'm not sure why that's been low the last couple of years. I did add in advertising here. Elsewhere in the budget, we've had a community outreach component, so I took money out there and put it under here. I thought it was more relevant, specifically for economic development purposes, some of which I'll tie on later on in a work session as well. But an increase there, dedicated funds, specifically to get the word out on brush on different levels. Other than that, everything else is pretty straightforward beyond what's been said by everyone else when it comes to increased costs and fuel and that kind of thing. That's all I got.
That's it?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Tad Anderson.
I'll do Tad right
Okay.
I don't know that I can do much, but I can do Tad. In reviewing his budget and his line item explanations, he did increase his chemicals by 1,000. He increased his miscellaneous tools by 2,000, uniforms by 1,000, travel and training by 2,000, and none of these he gave any he didn't give any explanation as to why he increased them in his line item descriptions. And then his radio maintenance, he's dropping down from 12,000 to 3,000. And right now he shows they haven't spent anything for 2022. Gas and oil, he went up 1,000. And tires, he went up 1,000. So he went up quite a bit, but he also came down on that radio maintenance quite a bit. So he's probably pretty much.
He's lower than he was for 2022.
Yeah, but we don't have the workers' comp in there yet,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good. Thank you. Loranda?
On page 92 for the city clerk's budget, the only increase is I would really like to find a rising desk surface that's larger than what I have in the office right now. We budgeted for it last year, and the prices increased right away. I don't look for us to go the full 4,000, but I thought that that would be enough of a cushion for us to find something that would be suitable in that small space as well. And then on page 95 for the court budget, 2 items, travel and training increased by 2,000 because the position is now also has deputy clerk, and there will be additional training needed for that. And then the legal increased by 2,500 due to the cost for the public defender, which we had not previously budgeted for. And so the 2,500 is going by the actual numbers for 2022. That will vary, but we feel that's a pretty good estimate for next year.
Any questions? Thank you, Loranda. All right, Monty.
Okay, so if we go to page 99, this is legislative, this is the city council's budget, and the only thing I changed here was the travel training. I bumped it up because our costs were, a lot higher than what we expected for this year, but that's because we've really encouraged council members to go to these trainings. And if you've been to any of these trainings, lodging always costs a lot, meals cost a lot, registrations costs have went up. So, and we have more attending, so that was the real reason that it went up. So I bumped that up to 11,000 instead of the original 8,000 that used to be there. If you go to page, I think that is 101, this is the executive budget, and then this is the mayor's budget, and I bumped the, just by $400, the travel training there as well, because that's for 1 person versus 6. Then if you go to page 103, city administrator's budget, and that one I kept exactly the same, made no changes there. And then if you go to page 107, this is the administrative budget. This is for all of administration, and just point out that under 1304 consultant, we hadn't used that this last year, actually last couple years, much at all, so I dropped that down from the 10,000 to 2,000. And then I'll point out also computer maintenance, that's went up quite a bit. The computer maintenance, I mentioned earlier that we made all those adjustments. We have someone, Toby Gertz, that comes in and does our computer maintenance now. So that went up quite a bit this last year, but we think it'll drop down a little bit for this upcoming year. That's one we'll watch it for the next couple, 3 years to see how it plays out, because it's kind of a musical chairs on the money piece of it, because we now have our phone system through our internet services and over a different system. So some costs went up, some costs went down, but we'll kind of play those over the next couple years and see how we end up with those. Other thing I was gonna mention, advertising. We did this year, we ordered for the rodeo, the middle insert, what's that page called, at the auction? We purchased that, and we're also, I'm guessing that's gonna come out advertising, only place I could think of. And also, we're sponsoring, and I don't know if that's advertising as well, but I put it there, the sheep, the riding the sheep. That doesn't come out of that one? Okay, but we're sponsoring Kids Night, is what it's called, right?
Yes,
But Kids Night is what it's called. Yep.
And that was 700.
Yep, so we'll figure out where to take it from, but put it there temporarily. And employee incentive, that's where bonuses come from at the end of the year. We're having discussions now on the bonuses. We'll bring that to the city council, but each year I bump that up a little bit just because every year it gets just a little more expensive. That's also pays for our Christmas parties, it also pays for our picnics and the float for the rodeo parade. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. All right, so now we have staff reports. We get everybody again. Tyler Purvis, Director of Community Services. Do you have
Nothing
anything else to
tonight.
report?
I'll be talking a lot soon after this.
Okay. Derek Boss, Chief of Police.
Good evening again. Just a couple items real quick. Everybody's off light duty and back to work as of today, so that's great. We still have one person in field training. Our other trainee wrapped up last week and is out on her own now, so congratulations to her. We're testing later this week as well. We have 4 applicants, so hopefully all 4 show up and we'll go from there. And then our new CSO started this past Monday, and that's going very well as well. And then just one thing briefly, as of the beginning of September, we have more case reports, more investigations than the sheriff's office has, which that's the first time ever in the history of Brush that we've passed them up. So that tells you we're very busy. And by way of comparison, they have 20 officers on patrol, we have 10. So we're doing more work with half the staff. No one area is up, it's just kind of the aggregate, everything's up a little bit, so we're busy. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Sid.
Lance, Director of Community Services.
Just a couple things. We wrapped up soccer this past weekend. We are starting youth volleyball tomorrow, and our flag football coaches are having their first meeting tomorrow, and that'll get started here in a week. And co-ed is going good on Sunday nights. And this past weekend, we played Fort Morgan, or I don't know if you say played. We golfed against Fort Morgan in the annual Sugar Bowl. And unfortunately, they kind of took it to us, but it's an event where we send our golfers to play Fort Morgan for 18 holes. They send their golfers to play us for another 18 holes, and then we treat each other to dinner and everything like that. So just a way of the two communities, you know, sharing the facilities and stuff like that and working together. So it was fun, but we took it in the pants, so they got to come back next year. So other than that, the golf course is going well. Parks and cemeteries seem to be going good also, and just in the middle of budget season right now. So.
Okay. Thank you, Lance. Dale Colbert, Director of Public Works.
Just a couple items to bring up. Sample Street's paved and finished, and so it's looking nice. If you've not been down it, you might want to take a look. So residents are really happy, and good quality roads going to last us for quite a while. We finished paving the alley in the 200 block between Cameron and Clayton Street, and I've got to keep an eye on that just to make sure, because the optical illusions and the drainage, just need to, it just looks funny. You look at it from one end, it looks okay. You look at it from another end, it looks not so good. So we keeping a close eye on that. East Nerve Street is just about finished. Curb gutter sidewalk. We have a small section of sidewalk we still have to get put in. However, we're working with the property owner because there's a driveway there and there's about a 10-inch difference between where the sidewalk's going to be and where the drive starts in terms of elevation. So we'll be looking at trying to get that corrected. And so that's kind of the status of our road programs at this point. And then finally, I do have one other item that I'd like to bring back to council, next council meeting, and that is the memorandum of understanding that we had signed back in May with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the epidemiology sections there that is monitoring for COVID in our wastewater. We found that to be very useful as a prediction tool, and they are coming back to us asking if we would be willing to expand that to include other pathogens that might be of concern. So it doesn't cost us anything, but it does provide us with information. So
Oh, I know they're finding polio now in
New York.
Yeah.
And so I think some of these, between the monkeypox and the polio and a few of these other things, I think they're looking at wanting to expand this program just a little bit so they can see, kind of gauge a community's health.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Questions, comments?
How's recycling going?
It's going good. It's going good. We've had a lot of compliments from the landfill saying that ever since we've changed the way that we've secured the containers, our single stream has cleaned up immensely. It is very, very, doing really, really good. Just finished our second load of glass out of here, and so we've been working with Wolf Waste on that. So, and the people that are receiving it are really happy because it's really good, clean glass, unlike some of the other stuff they get from the Front Range. So, it's going good.
Cool. Good.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Joanne Gosling, Finance
I
Director.
have nothing this evening.
Loranda Packard.
The mics are different. You've all noticed
Yeah.
that. It was kind of an emergency that we had to do this, but it's good that we're trying these mics because the mics that we have had on order for several months are the border mics that we have up here tonight. Long story short, the 4 ports over there on that side are not good at this time, so we had to do a border mic out of number 5 over here and feed it over to you guys. So I hope that we like this setup because it's kind of what we have on the way. But this should also take care of all of the static issues that we had at last meeting that were in some cases inaudible when you go back and re-listen. So
I do like not having the mic booms in the way where I can see people. It's kind of nice.
Feels naked.
I feel so
It does feel a
vulnerable.
little-
Yeah. But that's all I have. Very good. Thank you. Dan Krob, our city attorney. Are you still there, Dan?
I am. Thank you, Mayor, Council. I don't have anything to report to you guys, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I think we're good.
All right.
Thanks for hanging on. Monty Torres, city administrator.
Okay, a few items. First one is in regards to water. We're currently working on the feasibility study for another water source. And Dale, I think we're 90-ish% now, somewhere around there, 85, 90?
I think last time we visited, we were 75%, so we're probably pretty close to 90. I've got a call in waiting for the response back.
Yep. And as soon as we get the feasibility study wrapped up, the process is going to be, we're going to meet with our Water Advisory Committee first, and then we'll have a overview with them, and then we'll bring in our consultants to give a presentation to the City Council so that they can give you actual data and answer any questions from our engineer. Other thing just to mention is that Tyler and I today met with a internet service provider that has an interest in coming to Brush. I know council members in the past have asked if there is anyone else available, and this is a company that had contacted us previously, but they're very interested in Brush. So process there is we're going to get some copies of their past franchise agreements and get those to our city attorney to look at, and then we've asked them to prepare a PowerPoint presentation to come in and visit with the city council. And Then at that point in time, we'll see what direction council wants to go. We did have, one question about mosquito spraying. Is mosquito spraying still taking place?
As far as I know, it all depends on the climate. If the wind's blowing too much, we can't spray. If it's not blowing enough, it's also not very effective. So I will follow up on that.
Okay. Also talked to the fire chief last week, and the fire training center, everything is still lining up. Most everything that they need to get done on this end's taken place already. I think there might be, if you guys haven't got to it, a request for some base material or something like that for around their foundations.
I haven't been asked yet.
Okay, so he's gonna get with Dell on that, and then it's just waiting for the containers to come in for that project. Also, we did get notified that the school district decided not to fund the middle school project. That was putting in on the west half of the field, putting in sprinkler systems, topsoil, and sod. The city was gonna provide the funding for the sod part of it, and they opted not to do that project this year. So Lance and I are gonna get together and get some better numbers back for the city council in regards to Prairie Trails Park and that project. And then more than likely, we'll just recommend rolling that funding into the Prairie Trails Park project, just so we can get that on the books and get that moving along, because we really need field space right now. I think we're down 3 field spaces, you mentioned, practice fields. And with the amount of usage on the current baseball fields and softball fields, it's hard to keep those things looking good, because it's just almost every single day someone's using the fields. So next item is, council had asked once about doing some other community type events and community outreach. And years ago, we used to do block parties whenever there was a new road constructed. And so just something that if the council would like to do a block party, Sample Street might be a good option, because there's quite a few houses there. And they did a full reconstruct of the road there. They were inconvenienced for probably about a week. And but they did get a new road out of it. But we sometimes throw like block parties, and we can be creative on when, but it needs to be fairly soon because of the winter coming as well. But if you guys want to do that, we'd hope to have all the council members there, or majority of council members, and we can be creative how we do it. We used to barbecue, do hamburgers, hot dogs, invite the residences to bring side dishes, things like that. But we can even do a pizza party or something like that too, because you got pizzas now.
And if you, and so that they're not having to set up a bunch of barricades and all that, with Sunset Baseball Field right there.
Can do it right
That
at
might
the
be a
park.
great location, is to do it on the field there.
Right, right.
So,
Yep.
that'd be
So
good.
if council would like us to do that, we could do that. The hope is to give an opportunity for the council members to visit with some of the people that live on that street. Just let us know.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
All right?
You guys wanna go ahead and plan that?
We'll be creative then.
Okay, go be creative.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Mayor and council reports. Do we have any, does anybody have anything to report?
I do have one thing that I would like to bring up. I think you touched on something last meeting when I was gone, but I've had a couple people that have come to me about looking at property over at the Agra Park, and they said it's just way too expensive to try to come in. Is that something that we could look at to try to help bring people in, or, you know, if we discount it, because you're gonna make it back on taxes, you know, if you say, hey, we're gonna make, you know, I know you can't, you know, guarantee that somebody's gonna be there for 20 years or whatever, you know, 2 years and they could fold, whatever, but I've had 2 possible companies that have talked to me, and they're just like, once they hear the price, they're just like, there's just no way that they could move forward, so maybe be an option that we start looking into to try to bring some business out there to the Agra Park.
So a little history is we did a market study about a year and a half ago. We came to council and talked about the pricing on it, and so we set the prices where we think the current market is at, But anyone that's come in and we're serious about looking at the property, that contact our office, you know, we have our price, but when they put in their incentive package, that's where we would offer some of those discounts. So if you have anyone that's looking at it, send them to Tyler so that we can at least sit down, understand what they're wanting to do. And then we put together an incentive package that we'll bring back to the city council. And I think there's only one that we've expressed to them, the discounts at this point, that I'm aware of. But council can do it.
That's good to know, because yeah, some people had some sticker shock prices and they're just like, oh, no.
So they
we're
just
moving
need to
on."
go beyond just asking how much it is, so.
The other, yeah, and the other thing is, we don't want to just sell it, we wanna ensure they are gonna put a business there, or we've done it for nothing. So sometimes there's the dream of putting in a business and you never get to it, but this way it would be something that we would do a rebate on once they did the actual purchase of the property and they started building on it. But the last thing we wanna do is all the work we've done for that, on that property for years, someone just buys it and they just sit on it or flip it. You know,
Flip it,
that's,
yeah.
yeah.
We talked last time about using the hospital electric sign, is that what they're called, electric signs, to start advertising for the golf course, the course restaurant. Do we have any movement on that by
Yeah,
chance?
no, but I met with Linda today, so I forgot. But I'll get with Lance on that one. There's an agreement that we have to look up, and the agreement was on how we can, or what we can put on the board. So we'll check with that, and don't let me forget tomorrow, Lance.
So it seems like we get into these agreements, but we never get anything out of them. We put money towards this stuff, and then, you know, it's like, well, we never use it, right?
Yeah, and I was trying, do you use it much, Lance, any of the boards?
I've used the school district's boards.
School districts.
Quite a bit, and then I used to use grocery carts quite a bit, and, I always forget about the library, but the library is another one that they said I could use it whenever, and I just, you know, but school districts and grocery carts I've used quite a bit.
Yeah, and I know that the chamber, they've asked me a few times to coordinate the People's Market, and then there's another event not too long ago.
The hospital one, what would be great if you do talk to Ms. Thorpe is find out who the contact is that runs it, because that's, I've called over there a couple times, but I've kind of gotten the runaround on who I need to talk to actually get my
Right.
information. And, so the last few events I haven't even reached out there, to be honest.
Yeah. Linda's the contact for me anyways. I know
For-
it's worked
is
out.
she the one who programs it and stuff?
I don't know, but you have to get her approval,
Oh,
and she
I see.
forwards it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
We'll double check, Larry.
Cool. Anything with that sign over here, crossing the railroad tracks? The,
Oh,
speed.
is there anything, the dip,
I know it's-
South River?
I know signs are sitting in the shop, they just haven't been put in yet. We've had workload with getting the sidewalks, curb gutter, ready for Sample Street to be paved. That was a critical path item that we had to accomplish. And, but the signs are there, they just have not been installed as of yet,
Cool.
so.
Groovy.
I would just like to remind, not that I probably need to, prior to our next council meeting is our city's largest event, hosted by the Chamber. Oktoberfest is on October 8th. And in, I believe, an unprecedented move, the highway is going to be closed. It will be 100 block through the 300 block. It's going to be a really large, awesome event. The Chamber has worked very hard on it. And I'm really excited for it, so hopefully everyone can make it. It's going to have a lot of things going on, isn't that right, Macau?
And correction, it's actually the inclusion of the car show. It's going to run through the 400.
All the way to the library. So, from the 100 block all the way to the library. It's going to be great.
Very good.
I'm excited for it. I do want to give a little praise ahead of time, even though we haven't had the event. I mean, the organization that's gone into it, you should see some of the
It's a lot
maps
of
that I've
work.
seen. Macau, your skills are impressive.
Awesome. Anybody else? I have, I belong to the Lions Club, and they have expressed an interest as we're talking about the Prairie Trails Park. They wanted to know if we had like a playground or something planned there, if they would like to maybe do a fundraiser for a playground and do some work to get a playground or something along those lines put in there.
That wasn't in there, but the one thing that what we did have over at our softball fields that we installed was just that little, playground sandbox area, but, something similar to that is actually a great draw, when people are going to those, things. It hasn't been included in the plans, but
Okay.
it's something that could easily
It
be
could
looked at.
easily be stuck in there, but just, like, keep that in mind and
Yeah, yep.
keep them apprised. Very good. If nobody has anything else, next we have, an executive session. So I would look for a motion to enter into executive session, and you should have the wording for that. on the little paper. Okay.
I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes, Title 24, Article 6, Section 402, and subsection 4A, for the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest. The matter to be discussed is an easement for city-owned property.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Tyree,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Counselor Burrell,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right.
Okay, we need a minute.
Okay.
See you shortly. Or maybe not. You may not come back, right?
Yep, I will. Loranne is turning everything back on.
Sure. Thank you.
We are ready.
Okay, we're ready. Go ahead.
All right. I'll note for the record it's 7:39. I'm Dan Crop, the city attorney. I was present throughout the executive session. The scope of the conversations were within the scope of the statute, and as the city attorney, the attorney-client privilege attaches.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. And we don't really have any action to take except just directing. Do we need to make a motion to direct Tyler to do what was discussed, or no? No, okay. Very good. Then I would look for a motion to adjourn and move into our work session.
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Roll call vote, oh, no, voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Yay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for doing the roll call, or the vote to adjourn.
Loranda keeps me on track, so it's a good thing. Have a good night.
Thank you. Do you need me for this session or no?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.